Hello, welcome to my couch. I got some tea here. Do you guys like tea? Are you tea people? Tea people? This is little kitty cat. I think he changes colors when it gets really hot. When the mug gets hot. Fun fact. So yeah, the other a while back, I posted not that long ago. I posted a video talking about my 1 year on BookTube and had a little bit of a book haul. And I think I mentioned in there that I probably need to slow down on collecting. And I got to thinking a lot recently about collecting, why we enjoy collecting, what we get out of it. Should we collect? How much should we collect? In what ways should we collect? And I don't know. I don't have anything in particular to say. Well, I mean, obviously I do. I turn on the camera, but I don't know what I'm going to say to a degree. I've had a lot of thoughts kind of ruminating, and I wanted to just kind of discuss collecting. So I've always been fascinated because some people seem to be drawn towards collecting, and other people don't, right? Like some people just don't seem to care. I've always been drawn towards collecting, and I've wondered why some people are so into it and why others just aren't interested. And I haven't really looked anything up to figure out why that is. I'm just thinking aloud here. I did hear at one point, now I'm just like your friend who's like, hey dude, I heard this thing one time, and you're like, where did you hear that? And they're like, I don't know. So this could be completely made up, but at one point I feel like I heard that collecting could be correlated with anxiety, and that's not to say everyone who likes collecting things has anxiety, but I've heard that oftentimes people with anxiety are drawn to collecting because it is a way to bring order to something that they're passionate about in a chaotic world, right? Like books that we love are scattered around the world, and we can get ones that are meant to be together, ones in publication order, or a certain livery or certain author or a series, and we can bring them from all over and neatly arrange them in the order they're meant to be in. There's something very satisfying about that. And I don't know if there's anything to that or not, but it's interesting to think about, why some people are drawn to it and others don't seem to care. But like I said, I've always been drawn to it. When I was really little, I remember collecting Hot Wheels cars and Matchbox cars. I had boxes full of them, and obviously, yes, I would like build the tracks down the stairs and the ramps and the loops. My dad put like PVC pipes in the front of our house when I was little, like just this long PVC pipe tunnel, and we would race the cars down them, and all the neighborhood kids would come over, and it was awesome and it was fun. But I mean, most of the time, right, like I'm in my room alone, just arranging little cars, looking at the wheels and the different designs and the colors and which ones had metal bottoms and which one had the cheap plastic bottoms, and lining them up and separating various types. Like I just always have enjoyed like little collections of things. And I mean, I wasn't into cars as a kid in general, so I don't know. But and then I got older and obviously got into like Pokemon cards and Yu-Gi-Oh cards and Magic cards and all that. And then as I got older, I got into collecting CDs, which now I collect vinyl. Luckily with vinyl, it's a little pricier, so I've never allowed myself to really get carried away with my collection. And obviously I've mentioned before on this channel that there was a period where I was very much into VHS tape collecting, and I had probably upwards of 1,000 at one point, and have since sold them off. But part of that, and part of book collecting for me, part of the joy, is the thrill of the hunt. With VHS tapes, I used to be able to go out to flea markets and thrift stores and Goodwills and find. I would take $10 with me, and I'd come home with a huge handful of like obscure movies that nobody's heard of, right? And those days are gone. Like $50 a tape now for stuff like that, the really obscure stuff. You're not going to find it. But back in the day, I'm not that old, but a decade ago, you could find all kinds of stuff for no money at all. People were throwing away VHS tapes. And you can still do that with books, not to the same extent perhaps, but I can go to the store and pick up the types of books I'm interested in for $1 or less a lot of times. Sometimes $2 or $3, but I rarely pay more than like $3. And so the thrill of the hunt is so much fun. It's one of the greatest joys. And what else about collecting do I enjoy personally? Obviously, books are the thing for me these days, and I love reading. I love the stories. I love the written word, and I think it's magic. I love it so much. And but books as physical objects are also fantastic to me, especially vintage ones. I know they're like a piece of history, right? Like all the different publications for various older books, and all of the different stylistic liveries throughout the years, like throughout the decades. You can tell this book was probably released in the 70s, right? It's just like as a commercial product with various fonts and taglines and descriptions on the back, and it's fascinating to me, and I love it. I love learning about it, and I love seeing it, and obviously the cover paintings are beautiful. They're works of art. So the physical book itself is a work of art. Why do I have this tea if I'm not going to drink it? Ooh, that's good. It's like a cinnamon tea. So yeah, books as works of art, books as pieces of history. I know a lot of people are really into finding the most pristine copies that they can of these vintage books. And for me, I see the appeal there, certainly. But I like a tattered book. Maybe I'm in the minority. I would never damage a book. I don't dog-ear pages. I don't crack spines. Like, I'm very careful with my books. But if they're already damaged, I don't care. Like, I see that as history, right? Like, I love thinking about all of the people that must have read this book since it was published, all the people that owned it. Was it taken on trips? Did it travel on airplanes with people? Did they love it? Did they hate it? Did they give it to a used bookstore? Did it go to the pool with them? Like what journey has this book been on? I love that so much. And so I'm okay with like a tattered book. It's history, right? And and physical media is pieces of art. And there's something tactile you can hold, and I love the smell of the pages and the feel of the pages. And obviously, and this is like a love letter to books at this point, but I love collecting. I love books, and yeah, I love books. I love collecting books. So let's jump to the negatives of collecting. So when does collecting become too much, right? And I think this differs for everybody because there's different limits on collecting. So as a collector, there's financial limitations, there's spatial limitations, and there's, I guess, time, right? Those are probably the big three. So obviously, if you're an incredibly busy person and you can't fully dedicate yourself to collecting to the extent that you want to, that's a limitation. But I think the two big ones are probably financial and spatial for a lot of people. I think if I were the type of person into newer books, into like the sprayed edges, limited edition, leatherback, whatever, financial would be an issue for me. I'm not a rich person. I'm okay, I'm fine. I can buy some dollar books, like it's not going to break the bank. Um, like the vintage stuff I collect, I sometimes I get a little carried away, but usually I can go to a bookstore and drop 25, $30 and I've got a ton of books because I'm spending $1 a book or something, and that's fine. And like I said, I love finding books in the wild. I love hunting for books. I will occasionally buy books online, but it's a little pricier and I'm a frugal person, so I only do it sometimes, and also it's just not quite as fun. So financial limitations are there, for sure, but it's not like I'm happy with the amount I am able to spend on books. I mean, obviously everyone would love to be able to spend more money on books. I definitely have limits on myself. But for me, personally, my big limitation is space. Books take up space. That's just a fact. Even if you were a millionaire and you could buy an entire mansion and just fill it with books, eventually your mansion will be full. Well, okay, fine. That's basically unlimited space. But most people don't have unlimited space. I think, some people might fill their every wall of their house with bookshelves, and you've probably got pretty close to unlimited space at that point. And I think if I lived alone, I would do that. Just turn into a weird book hoarder. But that's not my situation in life, and that's okay, right? Like, I love my life. I love my wife. I love my family. I'm very happy with my situation. But I live in a townhome. It's big enough for my small family, but it's not huge by any means. And most of the rooms have a purpose. Well, all the rooms have a purpose. It's not like we have some spare room that we're not doing anything with. And all of the closets are filled with stuff that we need. And everything, like, there's not much free space, which leaves wall space. And I've already thrown out that suggestion to the wife, but she's not really, believe it or not, into giant bookshelves covered with tattered vintage paperbacks aesthetically, which, crazy, I know. But that's fine. I understand. And I mean, she did give me like that closet upstairs, which was very nice because frankly, we could use that space for other things. Like, I am grateful. But, whether I like it or not, my current situation, I only have so much space for books. I think someday, maybe we'll live in a bigger house. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. And maybe I'll have more room or an office that I can do whatever I want with, because right now we only have one office and my wife works from home full time and I usually travel for work. So yeah, my situation at the moment has a finite amount of space for books. And I mean, I haven't counted, but I have hundreds and hundreds of books. So realistically, like, if I'm demanding more space, am I being greedy? Do I need more space for books? It's something I've thought about a lot because, yes, I would love to just hoard books and buy books every weekend, every day. I really would. But then you have to stop and think, like, I don't know, right? Like, and this is what I've been thinking about a lot lately. And I wonder if other folks have thought about their limitations with collecting and how they feel about it and how they deal with it. Because one of the things is I really love buying books. I love hunting for books. It's one of my favorite activities. Obviously, I love reading books. And I love, yeah. But buying books is also super fun. And so I don't really want to stop doing that. But I also don't love the idea of like selling my books. I know some channels will buy books and then they'll sell them on Whatnot and stuff, and that allows them to continue having the joy of buying books. And then they'll keep the ones that they want. And I've certainly debated this, but it hurts me to sell them off. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'll do that at some point. But yeah, and another thing, I think I'm a little unusual compared to a lot of the people in our corner, in that even before I started this channel, when I'm done reading a book, I get rid of it. I give it to one of you guys, or I sell it, or I take it to a used bookstore for credit. And the reason for that is that I always find that I don't desire to reread very often. And maybe as I get older and the books start fading from my mind, I will want to reread more. But at this point, I very rarely reread, because the second I start rereading a book, my mind is like, there are other books you could be reading that you haven't yet experienced. And that's probably not a great way to think about things, but it's how I often do think about things. And so I very rarely reread. So there's no point. So the point in me keeping a book would be what? To show it off to people when they come to my house. And I mean, does sound fun, but I don't think I've ever had someone come to my house who would care. Or is it for me to pull it out and look at it sometimes? Because I honestly would. But is that enough reason to hold the space that a book I've never read could be filling? I like to have a library full of books I've never read. Maybe that's a unique thing to me. But it's also been a way to constantly, get rid of some here and there. So I'm not really just hoarding, right? Not that there's anything wrong with hoarding or collecting. I love collections. I love collectors. I love collecting. So if I say anything, don't take it any sort of way, because I watch so many channels on here that just have the most beautiful collections, the most beautiful libraries. I'm very jealous of. But for me personally, I just don't feel the need to hold on to books that I've already read. So I don't know where I'm going with this next, but let's take a sip of tea while I think. Anyways, the reason I'm thinking about this, I guess, is because as I've mentioned before in videos, is I filled and then overfilled my allotted space. And so I knew I needed to get rid of some. And then there was all this talk of Pulp Fest, and I was like, oh, I want to go to Pulp Fest. And my wife was like, yeah, do it. That sounds fun. I think you should definitely go. And she was like, but you can't bring back a hoard of books when you don't have space for them. And I was like, yeah, that's fair. So then it got me thinking about, what do I do when I love buying books, but I don't have space for it? I don't have the answer to that, but I did recently get rid of a bunch of books. I sent some to numerous other book channels, and I took some to the used bookstore, and I do intend on going to Pulp Fest. I'll probably buy some books, but not a ton. So I don't know. I guess I'm just, I love collecting, but I've been doing a lot of thinking about it. One thing I used to tell myself was that, well, I got to get rid of these books because, after I'm done reading them, because then they can go into the hands of another reader. And that made me feel better about getting rid of them. And it's true, though, right? If they're sitting here at my house, they're not being read by other people who could read them. And of course, when you really think about it, if you're taking care of your books, you're probably preserving that book better than it would if you sent it into the wild. And then one day you will die and your collection will move on to someone else and they will read it. So it is not you can argue it, but it made me feel better. But I don't know. I'm curious, right? Because we talk so much about the things we love collecting, but we don't really talk about the limits of collecting and maybe some people have trouble with the financial strain of it, or with I don't know. I'm just curious, right? Like, what is y'all's experience? Have you hit limits? Do you have to set limits on your collecting? How do you determine what to collect, what to get rid of? Oh, because that was another thing too. I went through my collection, and when I was determining what to get rid of, it was kind of like my factor was, obviously, do I really, really want to read this, or did I just buy it because the cover looked cool? And I got rid of a few that way. But the main one was, how easily available is this book? Like, can I go to my local library and check it out? Because if so, I probably don't need to own it. Is it available for free on Kindle or on my like library ebook app? Because if so, I probably don't need to own it. Now, if it's an obscure book that's like you can't find anywhere online or anything, then I obviously want to hold on to that until I read it. Anyways, I'm just rambling at this point, and I'm kind of out of thoughts, but it's just something that's been on my mind, something I wanted to throw out there and see if it got any interesting feedback or interesting discussions going. Anyways, yeah, that's all I got for you. Have a good night, you guys.